What's good, everybody? Deontay Mary here, back with another video. Just wanted to piggyback off of the last strategy I showed you guys about the 500 strategy, basically plotting. Let me change the color. Plotting these 500 levels, which would be 31 500. Let me change the color real quick. And then we have up under it, we have 3,500. And then on top, we have 32,500. So basically, going off the strategy that I showed you last Friday or last week, we know that each week these 500 levels are getting hit. So for here, we had, push from this 500 level to this 500 for 100,000 pips. Then we had some, some double tops up here, push up that level to this level for 100,000 pips. And then we had a major push from this 500 level to this 500 level. 400,000 pips. So before the weeks even start, our thoughts, what I seen for this current week that we're looking at, my thoughts is the market should or most likely will go to 32,500. The reason why I don't think that it would go back to 3,500 is because we have like a double bottom here sitting at 3,500, right? And then if I cut on a line chart, you can clearly see we are in a uptrend, and you started from here and try to get some of these spikes. So something like this. I'm looking at the charts, all right? Something more like this area. We clearly see we are in an uptrend. It broke through. All it did was go back and create a double bottom at this 500. So we're not really counting this. And now we can put it at some of the wicks. Boom. So we have this trend line going up, right? So my overall bias, if I'm looking for an overall direction of where the market will be going, my bias would be more of it going to 32,500. Now, the second thing that I would truly want to do is like try to draw up a fib. We've seen that the 23 reversal was pretty strong from the last video, right? But what do we see happen overnight during the time of London? If we draw this fib from 500 to 500, what do we see? We see that the market came back to retest this 66 moving average. And also it came back to retest this 38, which is the fib. If you draw it from 3,500 to 31,500, we know that 38, 50, and 61.8 are great areas. We are already in uptrend. So if we had been up, this would have been a good possible entry, right? Our overall bias is for an uptrend since we see structure on higher time frames, and we know the 500 levels are getting touched. Yes, it's gonna come back to 31,500, but it will have to break 31,500 in order to get to 32,500. So when I go back down, and before we go down to H1, we see we got some rejection. Let's go to H1 so we can see it. We clearly see that the market rejected off the 38. However, this is when the odd flats come into play. Let me change the color because I don't want to confuse you. The odd flats come into play. A lot of people ask me like, why so many strategies, or which one do you truly use? I'm using all of them. I'm adding them all to each other to see where the possible entries and exits. And now we have that overall bias on higher time frames. This all should match up, right? So had we been up at the opening of London, which is 3 o'clock, we already knew that it was going to get some rejection from the 38, right? So we could have possibly tried to stay up around that time, or I'm gonna show you guys how to catch another edge entry point. So we have the 100 level. So the next odd flat would be the 300 level, right? So the next odd flat would be this 300 level. And I'm gonna delete this overall fib. Just remember that this highlighted area was a 38 on a higher time frame fib. So now, say for instance, we missed that 100 level. We wake up, like I say, the time of 7, which is 1400 on my time, which is 1400. We really want to look for a trade during the time of 8 o'clock, right? So when 8 o'clock came around, I know basically we are in an uptrend, so I'm looking to go up. So my fib, how I draw my fib is from these odd flats to the next odd flat. So from there to there, I'm already looking for it to go up. Why? Because on H4, we had to push off that 38, which is this highlighted blue. And then using the overall 500 levels, I don't really see us going back to, 3,500, breaking through moving averages, breaking through the trend lines. I just see it continuing up in an uptrend. So I'm already looking for a buy on H1. So when 7 o'clock came around, I let 7 o'clock most likely close. When 7 o'clock came around, I already missed a good entry. Yes, we are up under the 11 moving average, right? But I'm keeping that same bias as far as uptrend. So as it's pulling back, my entry should have been at, at least 38, or it could have been at the 76 retracement, because it pushed all the way to, let me delete this line, vertical line. It pushed all the way to the 23, rejected off the 23, and all it did was come back and retest this 76, right? And when it usually pushes off the 23 and comes back and rejects this 76, it's going to be a huge move. It happens every time. It's going to be a huge move to the upside. So first TP could have been, at the 27 extension if you wanted to trade short term. But what do we know? It has to come back to retest this 31,500, or we could have possibly hold it win for this overall bias that we already drew on higher time frame, which is going to 32,500, right? So we can possibly hold these trades, but I just wanted to show you a little bit about how to enter these trades. If we're in between these odd flats, which is the 100 and the 300, my overall bias is to buy. I'm looking to take this buy when it's 7 o'clock, which is this bearish. I'm looking to take this buy from 61.8 or from 76, right? And let's look at the stop loss and the risk to reward. Let's talk about it. So say for instance, if we entered at let's do 61.8, or now let's do 76. So let's delete this, which is where the 38 was at on higher time. If we had entered on this Fibonacci from odd flat to I flat, we drew it up because we're looking for buys. So if we came all the way back to 76 and we took the entry, enter with a 0.2, let me grab my calculator. We enter with a 0.25, right? 0.25, stop loss going how many pips? 60 pips on trading view or 6,000 pips on MT4. That's risking. So if we take a 0.25 times 6,000, that's risking $1,500 if you're on like a trading platform or a funded account. We're only risking $1,500. Let me write this down because I want you guys to see it. Right now, we're risking, if we had took this trade, we're risking $1,500, right? I think I did it backwards. Copy that, paste it here. So we're risking $1,500. Let me make it red so we know that this is pink. So we know we're risking $1,500 for a stop loss. That's at 60 pips. TP could have been at the next level, which is the 300 for 15,000 pips, right? Which is still great money if you take 0.25 times 15,000. That's still $3,750, right? Which is great. No job is paying you that much nowadays, right? Or you can hold it to where the next odd flat number. So we have odd, which is 100. We had odd, which is 300, and then the next odd flat number will be the 500 level. So if we take the entry down here at the 76 and let it flow to 500, now we're looking at 35,000. So 0.25 times 35,000 pips, which is $8,775, which is great money too. No job is paying you that as well. Or say for instance, we took the trade at, say for instance, so we have it right now at 6,000 pips, right? Our stop loss. We have our stop loss at 6,000 pips. Trying to get it, boom, 6,000. Say for instance, we took it at the 38 or 68, 61.8. We took the buy here. Let me scoot it up just a little bit. Took the buy there, risking 60 pips, using a 0.25, risking $1,500. Stop loss still never got touched. So this still would have been a great trade to take. Overall, our bias is to get on higher time. Our overall bias is to get to at least, let's go to H4, let's at least get to 31,500, or we can possibly hold these buys, right, to 32,500, right? Because every week we see that these 500 levels are getting touched. All I did now is go to smaller time frames like H1 or M30. And when we go to H1, let's go to H1. We go to H1, what levels are we flowing through as far as the odd flat strategy? 100 and 300. So I'm already looking for buys. So I'm drawing it from 100, dragging it to 300, and now I want to take buys at some of these Fibonacci levels, right? Boom, 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 boom. Risking, 60 pips for using a 0.25 because it's just a lower lot, but the reward in some of these trades that we're looking for are greater. So yes, you only using a 0.25, but it can pay you out a lot of money once you hit these levels of levels. So like I said, possibly could have held these trades. I took some trades on my phone, so I am in some of these trades down here at the bottom on this account, which is a demo which I've been practicing. I've been practicing on US30 and GU. Basically holding these trades. So yes, I'm gonna possibly try to hold these trades until possibly I want to try it out to probably 32,500 and see what it does. Sunday is still an early day, so I still want to see it break above probably or get close to 31,500. We might get some retests the day before, but I'm gonna try to hold these trades and see if it can get to 32,500. So yeah, I just wanted to show you a quick breakdown of my overall bias. First, I go to H1 and see, what levels are we at. We already understand that these 500 levels are powerful. Now I want to see which level, as far as the 500, can we get to? Would it be 30,500 or 32,500? We are already closed around 31,500. So I'm thinking since we are in an uptrend, if we zoom out, a quick uptrend, overall bias, a higher time frame had been flowing down, but a quick uptrend on H4, this trend line, we're going up. We've been flowing up for a little bit, last couple of weeks. So I drew the trend, this purple going up. I expect for 32,500, if we're looking at the 500 levels to get touched, I knew that it had to pull back. So if we drew the fib, the overall big fib from 500 to 500, we see that the market came to the 38, which is a good, we don't really want to enter 23 because that's just a continuation. But overall, we see that the market came back to the 38, go to smaller time frames. Now we can apply the odd flats. And when we apply the odd flats, we had a smaller fib. I'm gonna delete the big fib. We had a smaller fib from 100 level to 300 level. And when 7 o'clock came around, which is this bearish candle, we knew we can enter 38 and risk, 60 pips, or we can enter here at 76. Now we can possibly hold these trades, right? Because overall on the higher time frame, we're looking for it to go to 32,500, or we can try to take profits here at 31,500, which would be that 40,000 pips that we look for every day, right? I spoke about this previously. From 100 to 500 would be that 40,000 pips. See, 40,000 pips that are usually pushed per day. So I just want to show you guys just the overall breakdown of that. On H4, we also had some rejection off the 66 moving average. So yeah, I just want to break that down a little bit of my overall bias or what I see for US30 for this week and how I would have entered the market. I do use these odd flats and I use Fibonacci's and a little bit just for more confirmation. And then now I'm applying these 500 levels for a sense of direction when it comes to just overall time frame. So yeah, if you do need help with anything, like I said, I do offer service. Hit me up on my Telegram, hit me up on Instagram. I put the descriptions below, and I put the contact information below in the description, I should say. So yeah, we're just gonna let these flow, and I am out.